right, my name is Antonius Brown.
Irvin Bryant.
Welcome back to Relatively Conscious. Shout out to the DJ for making our beats.
At DW Made That on social media.
And follow us on social media.
That's at Kinda Woke on Instagram and Twitter. Relatively Conscious everywhere else. Hit us with a like, share, follow, subscribe, and comment one time in the replies, in the mentions, whatever. What do you think of CRT? Is it like Wu-Tang? Is it for the children? Let us know.
Yeah. So we're talking about CRT, and this is the map of the states which have
banned.
Go ahead and explain your legend.
Yes. You will see in the red, appropriate coloring, the states who have effectively banned CRT. So this is not exactly in word banning the discipline, the historical approach of critical race theory. These are the states who, in reaction to some states implementing or certain districts implementing CRT, have banned a number of racial topics in the classroom. Texas, being the state that we're in, is a prime example. We did it unflinchingly.
Immediately.
And immediately. And so we were removing all kind of Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Frederick Douglass, MLK, Native American narratives, all kind of specific texts, primary sources, and references from the required curriculum. And so whereas certain topics were a bullet point that the teacher had to discuss, you got to do X, Y, and Z by the end of the year. Let's take Y out of there because it's racial and I'm not playing these games with y'all.
Yeah. So the other thing being that, so why is there a culture war around CRT? Is it, I know the right believes it to be anti-white, and then the left says that it's necessary to basically tear down the patriarchy. If I'm like,
being white supremacy.
Yeah. White supremacy. Yeah. So there's a culture war around the discussion of CRT, basically.
Yes.
And so let's get into the 5 questions. First question, what is CRT?
Okay. So short, oversimplification. Critical race theory is a way to view history, any social phenomenon, current events, and find the racial element. So I'm pulling out my critical race theory lens, as they say. That's the term. That's the term du jour. My magnifying glass or spyglass that will illuminate the race subject, the race factor. And so as I'm doing that, everything becomes racial. Okay, because that's the point of what I'm doing. I'm not looking for necessarily the gender thing, the economic thing, the business, political, religious element, not necessarily. Everything I'm doing through the lens of critical race theory is centered on race. So if I look at a fight that my neighbors had on the street yesterday, I'm like, well, who's what color, and what country they're from, and why does he not like him because of that?
Gotcha.
Gross oversimplification, but yeah.
All right, so very good explanation of it. I want to use a academic paper I found real quick to explain it. This is, give credit where credit is due. This is called Critical Race Theory, an examination of its past, present, and future implications by Nicholas Daniel Hartlib, University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee, October 11th, 2009. So it's a pretty old paper. But
I'm about to say CRT is not new. We're just now talking about it.
Yeah. And so he goes into the origin of it. Its origin is unique. It began in the mid-70s. It made its original debut at a workshop held at St. Benedict Center in Madison, Wisconsin in 1989. That's his first workshop, but it first got something talking about in the 1970s. Basically, it's originating from the ideal of from the response to critical legal theory.
Mm-hmm.
The legal movement that challenges liberalism denies that laws were neutral, that every case had a single correct answer, and that the rights were vital to importance. People of color association with critical legal legal studies movement was marginalized. This marginalization and frustration and dissatisfaction with CLS led to CRT being born, and the issues of race framing at its epicenter, basically. And so, to boil it all the way down, let's say you're in Chicago in the 1970s, they've already stopped redlining. They've started to allow Black people move into certain areas. But why do so many people live in the hood still? Why are so few people getting mortgages? Oh, well, let's think about it from a racial lens and figure out the answer to this question, right? So,
yes,
if the laws aren't working, yeah. So I've written out the George desegregation, but de facto is still around. So basically, this cannot be a legal issue. So what is the critical issue with it? So the question is, the second question I have is, what makes critical race theory so scary?
It's a bunch of things. So let's start where we left off. Okay,
Right.
I'm looking for the racial element because racial inequalities persist. Okay, as you just pointed out, legally. But we start going into the history classroom. We start going into sociology. We start going into anthropology, any other study where we're looking at human beings, race is an element. I bust out the magnifying glass, right? And then I start finding pieces everywhere. More apt than a magnifying glass is a black light, right? Like you throw a black light on.
Yeah.
What's it called? Jamie Foxx is a hilarious joke when he talks about they had the blue light parties and the black light would illuminate all the lint on your clothes.
Yes.
you thought you just washed it. You thought you were clean and fresh and ready for the dance. You come in there and look like, oh, what? There's snow outside. And so now it's just lint everywhere. What's going on? I didn't think it was this bad. And we get into the contemporary problem where, because in academia, that's cool. Like, we start finding problems everywhere. We're writing lots of papers. Everybody's getting paid.
Yeah.
I'm doing lots of work. And, you can help solve a social problem or two. That's excellent. Racism is bad. Let's defeat that. No one's really tripping. Some people have criticisms, and that's warranted too, because that's just part of the academic process. Problems arise when these ideas become popular and they move outside of academia. So I'm going to start at the extremity of that, where it's Twitter, right? And so Twitter gets a hold of critical race theory, and this is no longer the black light that's illuminating the lint. This is no longer the magnifying glass in 240 characters. It's no longer, right? You can't give that level of nuance. Life is simply under black light, right? Like, this is just our reality. This is not a magnified centering in on a particular issue. No, this is life in America. This is life in any particular situation. This is the truth. So everything is racial. It's not that I'm looking at the particular racial elements and I'm trying to find them and neutralize or whatever. This is what it is. Everything is racial. Everything is racist. And that is terrifying, because if we go to the inverse side, where I don't buy this argument. I've never heard of this ideology, this critical lens. I've never even confronted racism before the summer of 2020. Like, I don't think about it.
Yeah.
This is all horrifically terrifying, because you've called me the worst thing that you can call a white person. Me being a white person, say from Milwaukee.
Yes.
Me, a white person from Idaho, Texas, like any part of the state. You just called me racist, bro. And I will not. My grandpappy maybe, but not me.
Yes.
And so yeah, now you've cursed me out. You called me a slur through your silly little what are they called? Coastal elite, hoity-toity,
tweed
elite
jacket wearing.
What's it called? Tweed jacket wearing, Ivy League. You know what I'm saying? Egghead, all that stuff. The intellectualism just starts to ooze out. I already had those kind of sentiments.
You never won an SEC championship.
Y'all only play games against each other.
Yeah.
So, all the intellectualism starts oozing out, because you're saying things that don't make sense to me. Oh, black people can't be racist. All white people are racist. Whiteness is bad. White supremacy is rampant. All these things make sense in their proper context, but we've removed them from that. 240 characters. I'm not fully explaining myself. I, as a Twitter user, probably just by the numbers don't have a good grasp of what I'm talking about anyway. And now the discourse is poisoned.
If what it seems like to me is like when this is an analogy that works for people who watch sports. But you ever watch ESPN and they start talking about politics on there, and you're like, please don't do this, Stephen A. Smith, please, God, please, no, no.
Just talk about Ben Simmons, please. He's hilarious.
Yeah, talk about that. But like, this is not your area of expertise. You haven't done the work for this. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy.
Right.
And yet you want to give political commentary after Donald Trump was the election. And like, can you just leave it at, man, that was crazy. But the Lakers, right? Like, I'm gonna need you to leave it just there. But instead, you've gotten on to the weeds of this. You start using words that don't make sense. Start talking about the filibuster. You don't know what you're talking about. The problem is, so like ESPN, if I say Stephen Smith should not be talking about politics, 9 times out of 10, though, he may agree with me. He'll be like, well, I got to do it, I guess, you know. But if you go on Twitter and you tell people they shouldn't be talking about critical race theory, they're like, but I'm black. So I should be allowed to talk about this because I'm a subject matter expert.
Yeah. And I mean, that's I love one of my favorite comedians is Bo Burnham. And he, in his, I think Sundance Award winning film, 8th Grade, in the interviews talking about how he came about making the movie. Talk about a typical middle class white teenager, and she's just trying to grow up in the social media age. But it's like a lot of people tried that and failed, and he actually succeeds at it because he was a child of YouTube. He's a comedian who was discovered on YouTube, viral videos and all that. So he does commentary in his stand-up and talking about this film, about how we created a new culture wherein like after reality TV, it's like, oh, like, I understand stardom in a whole new way, because like, it's constructing a reality around it, as opposed to I only saw them in the interview on late night and then in the movie. Right now I'm like, I can see them move throughout the world. And social media gives you the ability to create your own production, your own narrative for yourself. The level of self-importance that can breed, not necessarily, I don't do that. But the level, because I barely post, right? But the level of self-importance that can breed for one is ridiculous. And now if I have the platform, I must have a right to it. I have to. Like I only have the things that I have. Like, I work a job, I get paid. I've earned that. I have this platform. I have some kind of right to it. Right. I have something to contribute. I must, else I would not have it. Well, I have a mission. I have a calling to call out white supremacy wherever I may find it. Cancel culture, all that, slippery slope. And that's terrifying, because the accusations, the condemnations of racism, white supremacy, et cetera, can and will come from anywhere, informed, well-informed, or ill-informed. And in order to respond to that, for one who equally is ill-informed and not versed in this, because the academic world is I'm pretty sure just as befuddled as everyone else, is why this is freaking them out, because this has existed for so long, and it's not like, it's not revolutionary. It was in the 70s, but it's not revolutionary anymore. But with it being so popular, it's a sucker punch. I like this. If this is going to change the way, if we're permanently living in blacklight, I'm banning lint, because everybody looking dirty now.
Yeah. So like, I guess it's a lot worse when you've been told that America is this, that, or another, and therefore now I'm showing you that it's something else, and you can't abide. Because does that mean everybody I ever heard talk to me about something was wrong? Not
only were they wrong, Tony, they were malicious. Not only did your friend tell you, "Ooh, you look clean. Oh, go get her number." Your fly is down. Your shoes don't match.
Yeah.
your outfit is toe up, and you've got lint on yourself.
Yeah. And so then, like, basically it's like, okay, so either, because of course the middle ground of this is that your teacher's not propagandists. They are.
No, this is true.
They're just teachers, and public school sucks because my argument is
the legislators are propagandists.
Yeah, my argument is that school sucks because like it's hard to teach everybody.
It is hard, but I mean there is Irvin Soapbox. There is propaganda in the curriculum.
Yeah, but like
and it's not even like hidden. Like it's like you will revere these people. Like these are heroes. It's not a matter of fact of this person did this place at this time and you can feel how you want about it. No. The test will ask you who's the hero.
Yeah, George Washington is a good guy in this story of all times. Yeah. And I don't know if you let people come to their own conclusion about George Washington, most times 9 times out of 10, they would come to the conclusion that he is a hero in this story.
Yeah. But or at least an admiral dude, a man of principle and convictions.
But you force me to believe he is a hero, and then now I have to deal with these other things. Now it's much harder because I remember someone in school being told that George Washington freed his slaves when he's died. That's why we shouldn't deal with the slavery question about George Washington. And that was just the way they were going to deal with it. Yeah, I know you want to talk about slaves. He freed his. Next thing, basically. And so now, on Twitter, someone blasted me with a 240 character thread about how George Washington is an evil man because his slaves weren't really free like that, and he could have been done that. And now I got to deal with these two different opposing theories. And so either are our teachers propagandists, or is George Washington a complete fabrication of my mind, and I've been propagandized like someone in the Soviet Union or in Nazi Germany, basically. Though I think the middle is less malicious and just like, we have myths. Everybody has myths, and it makes it much easier to tell stories when the people who founded our country are
good guys.
Good guys, yeah. Because when you get into the black and white and the gray, it's not as fun then.
Right. But I mean, when you do the black and the white thing, you get what you got now. Right. Yeah. So either people are like, it's the purest, pristine, holy, chaste white, or it's the dark, lascivious, demonic blackness. And of course, neither of these are true. But you created this, or who's the teacher, the curriculum, the narrative, whatever it may be, white supremacy, created this dichotomy. And now we're stuck with it.
Yeah. Third question: is this a Trojan horse? So is this topic a Trojan horse topic? So like, are Republicans talking about something else altogether? And when Democrats or the left or whoever, I don't that when they argue that we should do CRT, are they arguing for us to do something else that's not really CRT altogether? Is this a Trojan horse topic, basically?
Who is deceiving whom?
Can both sides? My question is, can both sides be deceiving each other when they speak about CRT? And so we're not talking about CRT, we're talking about something else, but we're using the word CRT as our jump off point to talk about this.
I think so. And that's actually a really good question. So on both sides, real quick, Republicans, I'm tired of CRT. I'm tired of criticizing my pristine Greek god of a American mythological hero. Right? Yeah. David Crockett, Bowie, however you say it. Thomas Jefferson, Washington, Stephen F. Austin. Shout out my Texas quote unquote heroes. Every pioneer, conquistador, settler, whatever. Especially our Confederate generals who we don't want to let go of in the South.
Yeah, right? Robert E. Lee, Jefferson Davidson. How many schools?
I'm tired of criticizing them. So CRT is the as far as I can tell, the pinnacle, the harshest criticism. And so if I can make all criticism under this extreme criticism umbrella, I sweep them all away. And now Jefferson Davis is a shining example for youth. Problem solved. Trojan horse. On the opposite end, and this is so weird. Critical race theory, I don't know, I guess it's a means to an end, but I guess for those who appreciate the idea of deconstructing, all these narratives, and singling out white supremacy and racial elements, if that's what I want, then I can say, oh, it's CRT. Look at this. We're doing this high-minded academic thing, which is a foolish thing. We haven't addressed that. Foolish for high school. Don't do it.
Yeah.
But, we're going to view the world in a whole new way. that's not exactly what it is or what it's for. Yeah. Right? Like it's not a new way of telling the story. It's a way to find problems, neutralize problems. It's a tool. It's not a doctrine. And I think that's what gets everybody messed up. You know, all the lay people in between these two deceivers, right? Is okay, if I believe either one of these people, this is a doctrine. Like, this is American history is now different. Life is now different because everything is racial. Everything isn't, though. Right? This is just the black light that allows me to find all the little racial bits. That doesn't make you a racist. I'm just finding this racist or racial thing that you have done, which, like we have established, is on everybody's clothes. The lynch is on everybody. So yeah, that Trojan horse thing, it doesn't actually help anybody.
Yeah. Allow me a second to talk bad about the left real quick, because I love to do that.
Of course you do.
Yeah, my problem here is that, and I think it is, well, if I can choose an example that probably explains it the most, is Eric Garner in Freddie Gray in Baltimore. Eric Garner in New York, Freddie Gray in Baltimore. They're not just white cops involved in those killings. It's also black cops too who are there. I went up to the woman who's in charge when Eric Garner gets choked out. It's a black woman. She's sitting there when it happens, right? And so if I look at that and I'm like, okay, so what's going on here? Because at first it was real easy when Rodney King happened. It's 5 white cops, actually one was Hispanic, but 5 white cops. They beat Rodney King. This is pretty simple. White cops are bad.
Racial.
Yeah, racial. But now there's a black cop in this. There's multiracial cops here. Atlanta, during the 2020 racial reckoning, there's a video where there's a couple inside the car and they're tasing them, telling them to get out the car. And it's this really graphic, and I don't like it. Atlanta has a black mayor, has had a black mayor for the longest amount of time, has a black mayor, black police chiefs. All these things are going on here. What is going on to make these cops act this way when everybody's black in this picture and all the higher ups are black and the whole city is black? So what's going on here? Or going further back, the guy who was doing it led to child killings. So black serial killer, a black mayor, and a black police chiefs. So how does this happen? Well, maybe CRT would give me the answer to a world that's really upside down. And so
or maybe it won't. Well, I think that's key.
That's why it's a Trojan horse, though, because I need something to give me an understanding what's going on. And so I just want to say I've given up on America. I don't believe it's good, and the experiment in democracy doesn't seem to be working. But CRT is my vehicle for doing that, because now as an academic lens, it's not just me criticizing the country in which I have my citizenship in. And
the original sin has rotted us to the core.
Yeah.
And so everything that doesn't work is the fault of racism.
Yeah. And so CRT gives me a vehicle, an academic one that has papers, bulletin prize behind it to do that. Instead of me being a raving lunatic arguing against America while I have citizenship in that country, now I'm doing an academic endeavor, basically. And that's why I feel like it is.
And real quick, because that's intensely negative, is that the problems that you're talking about in Atlanta, is, so many black people involved. And so, the racial element doesn't seem to solve. And this is, of course, a cursory analysis, but let's say that. Yeah. Let's say that the racial element doesn't actually solve when you think about it logically. That's why this is one of many lenses. This is one of many ways to illuminate the core of the problem. I've looked at it from the racial perspective, and I see these little bits, the origin of the police in this part of the country, or the segregation and the redlining and the property values and environmental racism, maybe. But this is also cops yanking people out of a car and tasing them when they're innocent. So I don't know how much those are actually factoring in. So maybe we need to be talking about actual policies and policing and training and more concrete things. Maybe we need to talk about the economic factor and how poor people are treated. Maybe that'll more greatly illuminate the difference between this black person over there and that black person over here and why they treat each other this way. There's, social problems are hard. We're bad at solving them, but to center on, race is either the solution or it's the bane, it's just not true. Well, see, neither of these is true.
But see, the other lenses though, like if I think about Atlanta from an economic lens, economics is purely unconcerned with how you like. I hate Mr. Pearl said that's facts don't like your feelings because it's a true statement, but yet Ben, you continue to bend the facts all the time. Yeah. Yes. If I do the economic lens, it doesn't it's so far removed and it doesn't seem to care about the people itself. It's just like, well, I don't know, they're broke.
But race doesn't the racial thing doesn't either, because that's why reactionaries are so upset, because
but it makes you feel better though. Urban makes you feel
no, but it doesn't make me, Joe Blow, white guy, right? It doesn't make me feel better because my feelings, my upbringing, my father told me not to discriminate.
Yeah.
I earned everything I had. I came from poor potato farmers, whatever, and you're perfectly fine, regular tax-paying American, didn't do anything to nobody. And so now a lot of the factors of your life are quote unquote racist. They've been hit with the stamp. And you don't care about my feelings. You don't care about my disposition, my intent. And that is a core, one of the many, like I said, we're drastically oversimplifying critical race theory here to make, podcast, but make arguments that are fit in the podcast. But, impact over intent is a core principle, I guess, the understanding that impact is more important than intent when doing this kind of analysis, because if I take in consideration your intent, that drastically overcomplicates things, much like in economics. I don't care about what you wanted to do. What actually occurred, so I can study this and make a objective analysis of events as opposed to a empathic interpretation of feelings, right? Feelings matter. And how you feel and what you meant to do on a person to person, absolutely every day, sure. But if I'm writing a paper about trends that occur across the state for decades, I don't have time for that. I don't care.
Yeah. But what I was saying about how it makes me feel better though, is like it's much easier to look at the Eric Garner and be like, well, see, policing started from slave catching, and that's why we should just abolish the police.
Right. And it's also much easier to say, well, black people, let's look at the numbers, economics.
Yeah.
They're doing X amount of crimes. They're spending their money in this place over there, and their children are doing this well in school or this poorly in school. Case closed, right? So you can close the case on the racial tip. You can close the case on education outcome numbers. You can close the case on economics, geography. Nothing. No singular way of analysis. And of course, this makes it very difficult.
Right.
Can solve any problem. It's almost laughable at this point. Like it's a joke.
Yeah. My fourth question, is there any argument that is there any credible argument that CRT is bad? Because a lot of Republicans keep saying this.
Yeah, most time they get
the most time they get laughed off the stage when they say that. What laughed the stages are like to the left or to Democrats or even to me. Most time I'm like, okay, you're BSing. But is there any argument that CRT is a bad lens that is academically not good?
I don't think so. Not you're asking me, so I'll say no. And is astronomy bad? Is zoology bad? Right? Like it's just it's a field of study, particularly narrow, like not nearly as wide. I don't know enough about either of those disciplines that I just named to get as specific as CRT is.
What about history? History is a field more about. It's it's history. But I guess the answer we know history is not bad. Know your history.
Well, no. And there are, and that's the thing. When I do say that, I'm like, in the realm of biology or I guess anthropology, I'm not sure. There is the eugenics and phrenology that are like racist pseudoscience. But yeah, there's phrenology and eugenics that try to do the whole racial superiority verified by science, and they fell out of favor and they are bad. And maybe in the future, I don't see it happening today. I don't see it happening tomorrow, but maybe eventually we'll find that CRT is the eugenics of the turn of the century. I don't think that's true, but maybe we'll find that. And if we do, bye. I don't care. Like, it's, we've found a better way, but we haven't. And as long as the author of whatever text, that text being a 240 character Twitter post, that text being an academic paper, which you cited, as long as the author of the text is being honest, as long as there's integrity there, it's all good. Like, in the realm of history, historiographically, words. There are so many different perspectives, so many different narratives of varying quality, according to some, of varying popularity, varying relevance to today. And it's just, it's part of the process. Like I said, we may in the future find that this is just as poisonous and as bad. Don't think so, but maybe we will, as like the lost cause narrative, that the South had a noble cause. They just lost the physical fight, but their moral convictions were correct. Maybe we'll find that critical race theory is that bad. We won't. But if we do, bro, bye. I'm not married to that, right? Yeah. And most people aren't, because it's not a doctrine. My chief doctrine is Christ. Right? It's like religion. Like, I believe in democracy and freedom and things of that nature. Doctrines. This is a tool. And I'm not married to any particular tool. The screwdriver is great, but if you figure out something better, I'll throw it away.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like sometimes Republicans think like this is, I don't know, it's an Avengers reference. But in Avengers, Star-Lord pulls up and what's his name? Asks him, what master do you serve? And he's like, what do you want to say? Jesus? Yeah. But I feel like Republicans are gonna they feel like they can pull up and be like, what master do you serve? And people will be like, CRT, the ultimate God. And that's not what this is or ever been.
I think there are fools exist. A fool will say that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the chief problem of our day. And I don't think it warrant, if we were all to take a step back and realize that that person that we just quoted is a fool, then, whatever. He's a fool. We'll get past this.
Yeah. So last question. What does this tell us about ourselves? What is all this? The culture war, the fight, the laws. What does it tell us about ourselves as a people, as a country, as a record label, a staff? What does it tell us about ourselves?
What it tells, I don't know if it's illuminating anything for me, to be honest with you.
Right.
But what it can tell the uninitiated is that there are and always have been, which is crazy that people are still learning this, but that was the whole point of 2020, is or the race reckoning part, is that minorities are living in a whole different world, and that the introduction of this particularly divisive idea, misconstrued or otherwise, the fact that it can create such a quick and distinct rift shows the gulf between us in understanding and worldview. I mean, the gulf is huge in our understanding. Race is real. Our sins of the past have real ramifications. Our sins of today, more about xenophobia and homophobia than racism. But still, if we continue to divide each other in any particular way, the gulf will grow, and new CRTs, whatever that may be, Pan-Africanism, Afrocentrism, Black nationalism, the Nation of Islam, the civil rights, I mean, all the different, waves of consciousness that have blown across America will continue to do what they do, which is divide us apart, unless we wake up and smell the coffee and realize, maybe you don't have a monopoly on the truth.
Yeah, I think what one thing Ben tells about ourselves is that I think we don't understand what high school does. And so I really believe
education. Yeah, we do misunderstand education altogether.
I believe it's high school. Like, if I've been in school in high school, to the main part that we're misunderstanding right now is a lot of people are confusing what it is a teacher trying to teach you, what their goal is, what they're trying to teach students. Yeah. And so they think that they can do a good job of telling students exactly what is the critical race lens they should be talking about in this subject, whatever it be. And most of them, they're just trying to get you to remember that July 4th, 1776, when Independence Day happened. And Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. And a lot of people have a hard time grasping that.
This is true.
Very fact in high school. And like they got to do flashcards to remember that. And so if I can help you remember that George Washington was our first president, then was John Adams, there's Thomas Jefferson. If I can help you want to remember what the Bill of Rights are.
Mm-hmm. The Ten Commandments.
The Bill of Rights. Yeah, like if a high school student can like name all 10 of them,
wow,
their history professor was amazing. And like most times I went to a couple regulars class in high school, and they spend most of the time doing crowd control, and a little bit of time they spend teaching. It's just like, all right, Brooke, open up your books. We're fighting the British. Why are we fighting the British?
Okay.
I don't know. Calvin, stop talking back in class. Yeah.
That's real.
We're fighting the British because no taxation, not representation. They don't know what common sense is. They don't know who Thomas Paine is. Like,
or maybe I'll know, but I'll forget after the exam.
Yeah. Or the Civil War. Like, and I wish it was just simply, it's about slavery. That's it. Let's move on. We've done states' rights. That is one of the problems I think we do have. But like, if it was just simply, it's about slavery, let's move on. That's that's the best you're gonna get out of some of these kids. That's, I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm saying if you've got 30 kids in the classroom, I don't see how a teacher can like really spend the time to like get them to understand.
Also, you got
an hour? Is it an hour?
You do, 50 minutes, or at least, in Texas, and in my part of Texas. But you have a couple mechanics in the room. You got a couple welders in the room. Got a few secretaries, a few nurses, some engineers. You have and maybe some teachers in the room, but they're probably algebra teachers, not history teachers, right? So none of this. I mean, it's all relevant because you live in this society, but it's not directly relevant to me, my ability to feed myself, which is my primary thing, myself and my family or whatever. So, I'm cool on it. I'll forget it and I'll pass the test, and then I'll get my degree or my certification, and then I'll live a productive life as an American. So it's very tough to get the import and the information, and then of course for me to understand it's important and remember it. All very hard.
Yeah, at the end of the day, most high school teachers, I think social teachers or history teachers, like their best, the best thing that can happen and then come in the classroom is that I give you enough to where you go and vote every 4 years. I want every 2 years, probably not gonna happen, where you vote every 4 years for the rest of your life. If I can get you to do that, that's good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, and so I think that what this tells us about ourselves is that we really are having a conversation about something that most people just are not going to understand and not going to grasp. And that's why, that's why it's an academic conversation.
Right.
So people who have PhDs who are you people make fun of wearing tweed jackets? We have academics for a reason. We have Ivy Leagues for a reason. So y'all can go do that. And last thing, I think those who do somehow end up getting CRT placed in the classroom are going to become extremely underwhelmed by how much it changes what happens at the end of the day. If I teach enough kids in the South that the Civil War is about slavery, maybe they'll stop flying rebel flags. I don't know. But that's maybe that's it.
But I mean, it's funny. Yes, I think actually. But that's a lot. It's crazy because we do the symbols because they matter.
Yeah.
So like if we did get rid of the statues and rename the schools and get rid of the rebel flags, those symbols, people feel a way about them, and I feel a way about the people that they represent. And so if you take all that down, then first off, there's no point of contention because a lot of people are just beefing about the symbols. And then when it comes down to something more substantive, something more meaningful, it's like, I'm in this position because my ancestors were in that position and now I'm disadvantaged. I am in a better position to feel empathy if my hero is not the oppressor that put you in that position.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really think that the social impact is rather large, even though you may not remember exactly who Stonewall Jackson is, exactly who Jefferson Davis is, all these different names, Robert E. Lee. You may not know exactly who they are or what they did, what battles. The symbols, the narratives you retain, and you can see that now. Like these people, by and large, at any particular protest, don't know jack squat, right? But they have a conviction about the narrative and their place in it. So That part is important.
My name is Thomas Brown.
Irvin Bryant.
Peace. I'm about to say, do high schools.
Kill him,